I have a dream. I've got more than a dream. I've got a fantasy. You know what a fantasy is? What's your fantasy? What is my fantasy? What is the whole deal about a fantasy? You know, I'd love to see a band. Every Australian band would be my fantasy. If they all had air-brushed Australian flags on their guitars, that had Australian flags on their drums, and on their chest would be tattooed the Australian flag. I'd love to see bands with the daughter, the mother, the grandmother, all together, and the great aunt on backing vocals. I reckon that'd be a great fantasy. But you can't always have your fantasy. You've got to really be real about it. I mean, a fantasy is a fantasy, but what is a fantasy? Now, I want to ask you something. Right? How good is it to be yourself? Is that good enough to be a fantasy? Is it good enough to be, hey, I'm old enough, I've done this for enough, I don't have to try anymore, I don't have to look for some pigeonhole which hasn't been pigeon-shadowed before. I just want to... What do you just want to do? What do you want? I sit there, and my fantasy is... it's fantasy rock. If you put your hands together, put them to your temple and think, shut your eyes, fantasy rock. Fantasy rock. Fantasy rock. Slowly open them and welcome Matt from the Tucker Bs. Hey! Fantasy rock. How you doing?
Fantasy rock, I'm good.
How hard is it being Australia's heaviest rocking, hardest gay rock band?
It's not easy.
It's not easy?
It takes a tremendous toll on your serotonin levels at strange hours of the morning. It's as an intense physical toll. I wake up with 1.5 very sore kidneys every morning. I'm sipping water all day. My hair's falling out. I could go on. But
go on, but do you believe in it?
That,
there's a rip in your pants.
That is a symptom of how hard I rock.
And what's that? From just your nads expanding and your pants are just going, I can't hold them in.
Pressure building up.
Pressure.
That bursts through.
Okay.
Apparently one stitch in time saves 9. I was told by my girlfriend the other day.
So what does that save? No
stitches. That's
what does that mean?
I've had good question actually. So it needs to be stitched up, I think she was trying to say.
I reckon it's kind of cool. In fact, it could be a fashion thing. We might have a how to be cool. And if you walk around with a hole in your pants that gets big enough so your nads drop out at the end, that's cool. Everyone does it.
Almost as big enough, let me tell you.
All right, okay. So this thing, a friend told me, like, he'd watch bands and he'd say, he'd watch the guitarist play, and Matt, you play guitar, and all they are doing is basically masturbating on stage, and that's their technique to wank. How do you play the guitar?
I play it in a way that tries to instill a certain amount of fear, loathing, but yet good times in people.
All right.
Sort of like almost like a horror flick, sort of not like scary movie type horror flick, but not quite, you know, sort of
so
Shining either.
So it's like when you're masturbating at home with your parents there, and they might walk in, but you're going for it, and the horror's to yourself.
Exactly, you were dressed in black and trying to scare yourself.
All right, that's the way.
South by Southwest.
Okay, so you'd stick in the exhaust pipe.
We showed them a fantasy that they'd never dreamed possible.
Did it end up being their fantasy? That's the question.
I think it did for the most part. Yeah. There were a few scared punters, but
scared's good.
Scared is good. Yeah. Scared but with a smile on their face, kind of thing. It's kind of like
shitting themselves but smiling.
Yeah. Like you're allowed to pat a lion through the bars of the cage, kind of thing. It's fantastic.
But the lion might eat your fucking hand off.
Well, that's the thing. Hopefully you're quick enough to pull the hand out.
So did you bite the hand off?
We try and bite the hand off every time.
This will be the first wrong that I undo. That's the way I found you this afternoon. Feeling broken teeth and the silver spoon. Last time that I saw you, you didn't talk. Didn't I see the smoke?
But yeah, the punters are quick.
So
they're quicker than us.
They're quicker than you. The punters are stupid, aren't they? Yeah. Punters don't watch the show. If you're a punter, go. Only people in the beards. Yeah.
Punters out there.
Is it hard? Like, okay, so you're going through all these different towns. You've never been there before. You've never heard them. Is it hard to connect with them, or do you just go? Your connection is like, okay, I'll fucking rip your fucking mind out of your skull, and this is my fantasy. Or do you try to say,
I think since coming to Sydney and playing the amount of shows that we have been playing, we've kind of lost our any kind of ounce of caring about the crowd, and probably the less there are, the more they expect you not to enjoy yourself, and so hence the more we antagonise them and try and make more of a show of it. So and it's ended up being pretty good. We're starting to really reach into their chest cavities and pull whatever it is out there.
So when you pull it
up on stage,
when you pull it, do you think of your grandmother and smile as you do it?
First I put lipstick on the men, then I pull it, then I think of my grandmother.
Because your grandmother, what did she tell you to do? Smile more, was it? Or?
Yeah, she's saying stop looking like we've got stomach aches. My grandma appeared in the video, in our last video, and her advice is stop looking like we've got sort of really runny large brown rivers awaiting this evacuation, and smile more.
Welcome to race that holds you together. Nobody cares anymore.
What would you say, Tom? What's one last bit of advice?
I would say don't chase it. If people start coming to you with it, it means you're doing a good thing. I mean, if you're having commercial success without trying it, you're onto a good thing. If you don't, then just persist, and hopefully one day you will. But if you do, if you try and make a commercial reality yourself, you're gonna screw yourself.
Okay. And also go and play and try to rip their fucking soul out of there.
Absolutely. Look into people's eyes and make them remember you that night.
All right, Matt. We remember you.
Thank you very much.
Remember, Matt, Tucker Bs. Remember, they're good.